A few years ago, the World Future Society magazine published an article which it called The 17 Great Challenges of the 21st Century. And the author James Martin gave a full commentary on those 17 great challenges. But I think he left out one. In face of all the experiences that knock us over, where will we find our effective uplift? Those events, experiences that will lift us up and take us on again. More than resilience, more than recovery, what will restore our hope, our sanity, our harmony to the human spirit? James Martin, in his opening paragraph, wrote, we are heading toward an inflection point of epic significance, when scientific advances will be beyond anything we've ever before experienced. So there we see ourselves, in those few words, stretching upwards to the highest scientific achievements. Yet, we're all ready to run into a problem and we become totally bowled over by it. And we generate a whole range of hassles that leave their residues of discontent and disharmony. Each one of us will run into major life stresses, unavoidable. Somehow we find the strength or the social support or the spiritual wisdom to cope with such major events. But the multitude of hassles that come with those major events or that are associated with those events or that gather around life anyway, that's a different story, and they can be very difficult to cope with. The aggravations, the thoughtless remarks, the time-wasting troubles, all the rest, that we can get so overwhelmed by the secondary ailments of resentment and distrust and confusion and exasperation and impatience, and that desperate sense of, why do I need to put up with all this? And the hassles between us and within us, or within the deeper challenges of life, keep multiplying. Earlier this year, the American psychological journal, which is called Psychology and Aging, published an article that posed the question, do our hassles and uplifts change with age? So I was quite interested to read what were they talking about. Do our hassles and our uplifts change? And in this address, I'm going to discuss the hassles we all experience. But I propose to give much greater emphasis on the uplifts that we all urgently need. What are those uplifts? What will lift us out of those heavy states, out of our hassling? What will lift us to retain and restore some harmony again? So what language will we use to talk about these things? The hassles may be recognized and named, but the feelings that they arouse and leave behind may not be recognized. Even though they may be very powerful feelings, we may not recognize them. In fact, we might deny them. We might blame them onto somebody else. You might agree with me when I say that the Future magazine that I mentioned should have made a number 18 here, because the way we deal with our daily hassles and their associated and aftermath feelings and behavior can be a source of lasting discontent, interpersonal maladjustment, cognitive disarray, and mental illness. We're often trying to pick up the pieces when some earlier education, Some of those hassles that are bringing forth these reactions could have been prevented had we learned about them. But paradoxically, we go through a phase where it seems we don't want to prevent them. We get so set on our hassles and hasslings that we go on when we could say, stop a minute, let's intervene. Let's see if we can prevent these things going on and developing further. We get locked into our prison of entitlement. And we demand that other people should somehow release us from the prison we ourselves have made and the prisons that we seem to feel entitled to be in. Isn't that a paradox? We let other people put us in these prisons, we put ourselves in, and then we act as if we want to stay there. So in this address, I ask the question, what are our uplifts? What will lift us out of this? What will likely lift us out of our state of discontent? How will we live in the face of our hassles and in the aftermath states of our hassles that come with our hassles? No doubt there will be people who will say, well, what's this got to do with religion on Sunday morning? Where is the Bible in all this? Through and through your Bible, people were locked into hassling with each other. Discontent and distrust so intense and so recurring that so often their solution was to kill each other. In the gospel reading we took today, a man was so overwhelmed by his state of living that so oppressed him he became a stretcher case. He was on his stretcher. He needed someone to come and lift him up and tell him, come on, let us get off the stretcher kind of existence. And we'll look at what will lift him out of this state, what will lift us out of this fixated, imprisoned stretcher state. But first I'd like to look at the hassles. They are a universal experience. They are likely to be recurrent. They are likely to cause disruption, discontent, and distress. They are likely to be cumulative. They are likely to arouse a lot of anxiety, undermine your self-worth and self-morale. They may arise from relatively small issues, daily challenges, minor conflicts, misconceptions, and misunderstandings. And they're likely to expand and escalate into major ongoing fixations, obsessions, and destructiveness. That's our life. That's what happens. They may have their beginnings in the very big events, such as a family birthday, would you believe it? Or a marriage, a family marriage, or a family death in the family. Those big events are the givens of life. They happen. But the host of hassles that gather around those big events are very difficult to cope with. The hassles and the emotional loading of those hassles may go on and on for the second and third generation, may be subject to lawsuits and legal settlements, may be major factors in a person's damaged aging, in fact, in their mental illness and in their dying. We certainly need uplifts, something to lift us out of these states. What are your uplifts? This is such an important issue. There are examples occurring every day where people don't realize how their hassling in their minds and in their relationships have become so fully established as justified that they don't want a rational solution to them. So the hassles keep going and keep expanding. Rather than become released, they become imprisoned by their own demands or their own state. There are examples occurring in our lives where people don't look for the uplifts. They lose interest and motivation in searching for the uplifts, as if the uplifts are not for them, as if they're irrelevant. So they lose a sense of joy, they lose a sense of excitement, and often they lose all readiness to look after their own health and well-being. So why are these uplifts so important? Why so little research on them? Do our uplifts decrease as we grow older? Whenever uplifts are lost, when we lost those things that would lift us up, we've lost them, how do we restore them again? Can we restore them again? Or will we say that's how it is? When we are hassled, how do we restore our uplifts? Do other people cause our hassles, or do we bring them about ourselves? And so on. Many questions can be asked about our hasslings and our uplifts. But we do know this. Your uplifts are very important. What will help us to lift up our eyes and see the scene in a different light? Where are these uplifts and what are they? What do we do when the uplifts we once had are no longer there? When do we experience an uplift? Well, here's one way when we will experience it. When a person walks in and says a good word. When a person walks in and says a good word to you, some thoughtful word, some gentle word. When altruism is just for a few moments stronger than our narcissism and self-pursuit. Now, you don't need the Bible to remind you that a person's good presence can make a world of difference to you. You don't need your Bible to tell you that. But it does tell you that. Again and again through your Bible, it tells you that a good presence, saying a good word, a good thought, makes a world of difference. Secondly, another good uplift. Join a good cause, a helpful cause that will make a difference to somebody's life. Now, you don't need your Bible to tell you that. But did you hear what happened in the New Testament in the Gospel reading today? Watch as the story unfolded, and you will see what several studies have told us year after year, repeatedly confirmed, that when you do some specific good for others, it can change something in yourself. Not always, because sometimes our pursuit of good causes takes us into the zones of dispute and discontent. That's true. But if we can keep the lines open, doing good for others helps us feel better about ourselves. That's a good enough reason, isn't it? But doing good for others can be an even better reason, because it helps to make the world a different, better place. And more than that, it enlarges the meaning and goodness that we can bring to the human situation. That's number 2. Number 3, would you focus on something bigger than your interned state? Focus on something bigger than your ruminations, your lack of pleasure. Now, you don't have to go to your Bible to have me tell you that. You know that. But if you look again into your Bible, the Old Testament reading I gave you today, how beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of the one who brings good tidings, good news, who persists in the pursuit of harmony and peace. Well, that's Old Testament. That's thousands of years ago. We can hardly imagine the times that they were living and the conditions under which they were living at that time. They were constantly faced with trauma, with tragedy. Tragedy and trauma. They had plenty to persuade them that life was a huge hassle. And more than that their daily existence was everywhere, at every point, overshadowed by the constant threat of non-existence. Yet one in their midst stood up and said, "Would you lift up your eyes? Would you look to the horizon for a moment? Look to the horizon ahead. How beautiful. How beautiful are the mountains, are the feet of the one who comes with good tidings." Now, you don't need your Bible to tell you that each one of you, each one of us, has the power and the purpose to bring good tidings. It is time to get your release from that stretcher-like existence, that non-existence, and to reach out to see that this is your time to exist. And therefore, individually and together, we can make our existence more worthwhile. Number 4. The reading from the epistle today said, we know that life brings many sufferings, but we live in hope of better things. Always it says we hold on to hope. If you give up on hope, you know what happens then. So we hold on to hope. But in order to hold on to hope, which way does it work? We need to let go our hassles, because our hassles can crowd out the hope. Our hope is to restore our focused harmony. Hope and harmony go together, surely. But very quickly we get into harmony dysfunction. But we search for a restored, focused harmony. RFH, we say. Restored, focused harmony. RFH. Calculate it, concentrate on it, help it to exist. We want to do something to restore a focused harmony out there. But the essential therapy must focus on the internal harmony, to take it into ourselves and let it be there as an important internal harmony. Now, some of you know that I have been advocating a new awareness of our quiet place of Mingary, a place to loosen our tightness, our tensions, that many people in this city know about it now and are coming more and more to know about it because they come there through the day. To loosen that tightness and that tension, that mental irritability, that mental fatigue, even their mental exhaustion. For the ongoing development of Mingary Quiet Place, I have asked for an enlarged commitment to the gardens around Mingary, the lower, the midway, and the upper garden, because they too contribute to this wider awareness of what human beings need in a busy city. I want the gardens to augment the healing and soothing work of the quiet place. We need uplifts, you see, of many different kinds. Uplifts that switch off the tensions of the mind and its hassles and switch on to softness and beauty, the replenishment of the mind and the restoration of the spirit, restoring our focus, restoring our harmony, restoring a vital composure. And we're doing it here, in that place, and in the gardens that surround it. What are our uplifts? What have I said? Recognize the power of a good presence and a healing, thoughtful word that goes with a good presence. Be part of a good cause that lifts others and lifts ourselves. Focus on that larger worldview beyond us. Think about a restored, focused harmony. And fifth, the switch. Remember the switch. We can switch. We're frequently involved in the tussle between a task focus and the many distractions and denials, between good mind energy and the drag of our discontent. The switch of posture from the stretcher image of ineffectiveness and helplessness, and I can't get up and get going again. That switch from that position to being on your feet. He says, come on, it's time to get on your feet. This is the task. This is the possibility that's before you. And we can do a lot of this. We can switch off in our busy world. We can go full focus on something that restores and relaxes. You don't need the Bible to tell you that, but there it is in your Bible. As Jesus of Nazareth used the imagery of moving a man from the stretcher posture, the stretcher mentality, a bound existence, bound in his hassles and ineffectiveness, to a posture of acting, task-oriented behaviour, where we are determined to embrace a new way, he said, a new being. The uplift of switching from the old to the new, from the past to the future, from the fatigue of repetitive discontent to the energy of a new focus. So what is the job of the uplifts? The job of the uplifts. What is the task? The task is to renovate our personality so that the external things around us, the good external things, can become internalized. It's a personality changer. The task of the uplift is to change your mental state. It's a mind changer. The task of the uplift is to open our moods and expand our awareness. It is a mood changer. The task of the uplift is to recover a little bit of hope and a little bit of inspiration in the human spirit. It is a spirit changer. The task of the uplift is to cause a change in the way we behave to each other. It is a behavior changer. The task of the uplift is to lift us up, set us on our feet again. It is a life changer. Can we do that? It is about transforming ourselves into a different existence. There we can do this. We need to do this because our health, our well-being, and all of life can depend upon it. Would you please stand? And so the blessing. The blessing, as many of you know, uses words that remind us to turn outwards, and yet at the same time to take something inwards. May the God you see in all the colours of creation arouse in you a sense of awe and wonder. May the God who is a sacred presence be real to you. May the God who is a source of inspiration and courage keep calling you forwards. May your God go with you and bless you today and always.